Right. Very good evening to all of you who's joining from India and if you're elsewhere in the world, uh, whatever your respective time zone is. It's a pleasure to connect. CyberFrat has been a wonderful community. Thanks to Gaurav for initiating this concept and bringing in a lot of professionals into this bucket. So let me quickly get started with a few thoughts and the world where it is heading to. We are unfortunately or fortunately dealing with a major trust deficit. We are not too sure whom to trust and whom not to. And we are perhaps a little too scared what is going around us, especially during this COVID-19 challenges. A product which I buy, I don't know where it has come from. The poultry or the meat which I am consuming, I am not too sure where it is from. And perhaps I don't even know whether it is actually meeting the quality standards. And forget that, hospitals are not able to figure out whether the product which they are buying is actually a fake or a duplicate or an original. We are facing some new challenges which has just come up. And not just that, technology has actually created one side a whole lot of advantages, but it is not upskilled or upgraded a whole lot of other set of people. And this is where people wanted to know, is there some sort of a game-changing technology which can connect, bring people together, at the same time ensure that yes, by a common consensus or by a common platform, differences are reconciled and transactions are recorded simultaneously in multiple places such that it is actually able to bring a whole lot of saving in reconciliation and trust. That the game-changing technology was blockchain. Many of us know this technology as something which closely associated with Bitcoin. And I'm sure many of us still here think that blockchain is equal to Bitcoin. My dear friends, the spelling of blockchain is not B-I-T-C-O-I-N. Jokes apart, let me quickly take you through what I wanted to cover in this next 20 to 30 odd minutes. This is how easily you can understand blockchain. Put various pages, put various linkages, and that is basically, unfortunately, what you're seeing and hearing out in the world. Perhaps it is an overload of information, or maybe it became too much for people to digest, or perhaps there is no concrete definition as yet. And yes, people still think, can blockchain work without Bitcoin? Or is blockchain all about Bitcoin? These are the basic presumptions or assumptions or thoughts which are running into our mind. Let me quickly pause you there and actually give you an overview of what we are facing through. A world which is called as VUCA. Volatility, uncertainty about our future, quite complex, and absolutely no idea what the next moment is. But definitely we know that there is lack of trust. There is a huge amount of fake menace, whether it may be news or product. There is a whole lot of anonymity and anonymous games which are going around. Quality capital people are not able to access, and supply chains are becoming less agile and not resilient. So is there something which can solve all of this? And the Eureka moment, the fact of the matter is yes. Let me also speak to you about what exactly is growing across the globe. Across the world, the number of engagements in blockchain has significantly increased, and you would find that India is amongst the top 5 in terms of engagement. Yes, there are different ways. There are consultants, I'm talking about consultancy engagements, there are collaborations and a whole lot of things which are happening, and that's what we are seeing on the world. But how is this coming into our profession, or how is this linking the dots? This is the estimated budget. I'm talking about why blockchain and what are the problems it's going to solve before I actually start explaining what blockchain is all about. This is a Deloitte survey which was conducted, I think, probably in 2020. And it said, which are those companies who are really interested in investing in blockchain? And all these companies which you find, at least about 30% plus are saying that yes, we actually want to put in our money and bets on this. You know why? Until 2018, it was believed that blockchain is a hype. 2019 and 20, or rather the beginning of 20, we all have understood that blockchain is a reality. And we are seeing successful cases going beyond proof of concept. And please keep in mind, you will not realize as an end user if the background systems are working based upon blockchain or a setup like this. So that gives me numerous number of questions. But the first question, let me answer and put it in a very simple language. What exactly is blockchain? Let's take a simple scenario. 5 of your friends wanted to go for partying, camping, of course, prior to the COVID-19, or maybe a few days after COVID-19, after fairly things are settled. And you 5 friends are very good friends, that you are so good and so know each other, but you don't want to trust any person when it comes to finance. You know the trip requires expense, you require money. So all of you took some money, gave it to one guy, and asked this one guy to keep a track or account for it. But yes, you weren't sure whether this guy, on a jovial note, would account it correctly. Let me say, what if I told you all 4 of them had to give their permission for every transaction or money which had to be spent, and as and when they gave me the permission, immediate time, I said, boss, since you have given me permission, why don't you record it in your ledger or your books, or forget that, even your mobile app? They did that. And what did I do? I used a simple method and used a password to save all their 4 files in their respective places, such that the data cannot be reversed in it. And more importantly, every time a transaction kept on getting added, I used to repeat the process, get their permission, and put it into the system. My dear friends, I'm talking about a technology which can just do this. A technology which is distributed, where all the 4 people in this example of mine are having a copy of the ledger, and prior to any data coming into their respective ledgers, there is a validation which goes through. And the moment the validation is complete, I repeat, the moment the validation is complete, the transaction gets verified and pushed into a system which cryptographically cannot be reversed, or it is saved because kept in an encrypted manner. And put it in simple language, that is, in a simple words, what blockchain is. Now you must be wondering, what is this sort of a technology? Can't I use a read-only database sort of a setup? Yes, that is possible, but who has the control of the database? It is you or your organization. How can a vendor be rest assured that whatever you have in your system is absolutely the right thing? So that is where blockchain is a game changer. And the biggest question which most of us have, which I'll probably take a minute to address, is this what Bitcoin does? Please keep in mind, this was the underlying technology which ran behind Bitcoin. Just like we say, internet powers email, blockchain powers Bitcoin, and it continues to power it. But we are not worried about Bitcoin. The price may go up, price may come down, and probably people who are best in that, let's leave it. What we are concerned about is, what is this blockchain can actually solve for me and try to address my problems. So that is basically what you can do, and that is what is called as enterprise blockchain, a technology or a concept where this is going to sort of help people within companies, within vendors, within an ecosystem to solve this as a challenge. It has these 5 key elements which I spoke about. The data is encrypted. You cannot alter it, and therefore we say immutable. Every data is converted into a digital form, which is popularly used as token, including land is converted into a token. Distribution, because many people have access, and it is decentralized. It is held at various places, and very important, it is to some extent, control is there with each and every person who's there. Popularly called as node or popularly called as a network and various terminologies. So the biggest question now is, forget about what this technology is. To understand whether should you invest or go a little more, spend some time in reading this technology, you have to understand where is it being used or how can it be used. Let's take a simple setup. We're talking about industry 4.0, where factories are getting digitized, manufacturing setup are getting automated, and machines and robotic arms are doing the work. But little do we realize that there is a whole lot of dependency between multiple players. You have the customers, you have the designers, the material has to come in, the logistics has to go through, the factory has to keep a track of these items, it has to geotag or it has to physically tag the items, and only then deliver it. Now you want a mechanism to track the entire history right from beginning till the end, and that is possible thanks to a technology called blockchain. You can always say, hey, you know what? I will keep a track of this. Keep on saying yes, 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 put a checklist and keep a track of it. Yes, you are right. But can you go to a level where every player within the ecosystem is giving you a sort of a foolproof evidence? The answer is no. How do you know that the raw material came from an authenticated source? You go by the trust, but the trust can always be questioned. And thanks to a concept called a smart contract, which has an amazing capability, let me tell you, which can convert a set of activities in such a manner by the time activity A ends, activity B can be triggered. It is quite similar to what we refer to as our exe files. The moment we double click it, it executes the various instructions without saying, please click next, 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 next for every process. That's exactly what is called a smart contract. A contract which is self-executable in nature, has the power to actually move through the cycle and deliver it. Let me give you one classical case in manufacturing. Assuming I am a jewelry manufacturer or polish maker or doing some sort of a thing, there are certain diamonds which are extremely valuable, which comes from a particular country. On the other end, there are definitely certain amount of diamonds which I shouldn't be buying. For instance, what is popularly called as the red diamonds. Why? Because they are come using various sort of child labor and unfortunate things where governments have actually banned it. How do I as an enforcement agency figure out where this product is coming from? How do I as a consumer figure out which farm or which field this has actually been extracted? And all of this is possible thanks to the concept of provenance, which is inbuilt in blockchain. Let me give another example. Banking is one classical case where blockchain is heavily transforming. Today, between banks, I'm sure most of us know that we have these modern methods of payment such as NEFT, RTGS, IMPS, which happens instantly, UPI, etc. Little did we realize that I make a money transfer from my account to CyberFrat's account or vice versa. Let's say my bank is ABC and CyberFrat is XYZ. The funds go immediately. But both the banks take a lot of time to sit and reconcile in the back end. Maybe my bank has a UPI handle, your bank may not have a UPI handle, and you are forced to take up a UPI handle powered through Paytm, Google Pay, and etc. And there is a whole lot of reconciliation exercise which is going on. And you know what? Companies like Google or Paytm, or for that matter, even PhonePe, are taking the risk that if you're not able to reconcile, I'll come forward and do the settlement. But with a blockchain powered system, reconciliation is going to be a minute. Why? The moment I initiate a transaction, it goes through my bank. My bank speaks to another bank which is powered by a smart contract which is backed by a blockchain. The moment both of them say agree, and how will they give an agree symbol? Because I have entered the PIN, an alert will come to you. Both of us give a acceptance. It will go through the bank. The transaction will get established immediately and hit the banking servers. And alas, the transaction is complete, no longer required to reconcile. Remittance across the borders can come into India in a span of 3 to 5 minutes, even though today a few of them are doing it, but it is only through a dedicated channel, not everybody. Smart contract is one single powerful thing which can transform banking. And a classical instance which most of us are fed up with our banks is the number of times we have to submit the KYC documents. I keep getting alerts even after making one submission after the other. Please keep on submitting. And you know what? If I have submitted once, what is the guarantee that the bank does not misuse it? Nobody knows. So a whole lot of these solutions can be solved by introducing blockchain in KYC, where a person, once he authenticates, I know for certain that this particular person is final, and whatever happens, I will take the data of this person from the server where it is authenticated. And of course, this is just a few illustrative things which is possible. I'm not sure if you're aware, the NPCI is already in talks and has released a consultation paper called as a blockchain platform for India, which has its own Indian origin name called as VAJRA. It has external parties, it has a VAJRA platform, it has the bank core banking systems and certain third-party authentication systems such as UIDA. You know what? Rest of the world is actually having a big fear when they want to introduce blockchain. It's not a big fear, I'll rather say big question. The question is, how do I repeat, how do I set up a blockchain where I need to verify somebody's identity and I need to make a payment? Unfortunately, the global systems may not have been so robust. And you know what? India has a unique advantage. We have a unique advantage in terms of identifying who the person is. Thanks to the technology of Aadhaar, I can establish a person's identity. We have a method where I can make instantaneous payment thanks to a technology called as UPI, Unified Payment Interface. And these two things, my dear friends, are going to be a game changer. Trust me, this is basically what is happening across the world, which is a question mark, whereas India is fairly ahead when it comes to that. Of course, we are going to take a lot of time to develop the system and other things, but this rate at which digital transformation is happening across the globe, you should be the person who lead rather than a person who waits for the rest and follows. Let's take another example of a food retail chain called Walmart. A customer walked into Walmart store, picked up a berry, perhaps a strawberry or a mango, not too sure, went home, or maybe it was lettuce, I'm not too sure about it. He took that home, started eating, and immediately within a span of few minutes, he developed an allergy, admitted to a hospital, and he figured out that the reason for the allergy or the allergent was basically the food he consumed. The moment he knew that he purchased from Walmart, he sued Walmart for a huge amount of money. And little did Walmart know how to reply. In fact, they wanted to stop the sale of that particular product, and they were not able to track where this product came from and how this was. And they had no other option but to pay a compensation. But that's when they actually thought through and they saw, yes, I need to set up a tracking mechanism which is foolproof and ensuring that it is authentic and nobody can actually alter it. So the real question actually came up, how can I track that? And that is when they brought in a system of blockchain to track the food right from the farm it came to the supermarket it went, powered by certain additional technologies such as IoT, where the sensors were able to help them track it. And trust me, my dear friends, this became a huge success for them. And please note, they did not do it for every product. They just started for 1 or 2 products. And today they probably say about 15 or 20 odd products they're able to track it, such as meat, poultry, dairy, and things like this. And this is basically what they were able to change. A mango, which took for them 7 days to track, today it takes about 2 seconds for them to actually track where it came from and what it is. That is the technology which we are speaking about, the concept of provenance. This is basically how IoT and blockchain work together, and they're able to track. It could be your raw material, it could be a meat, it could be a restaurant, whatever it may be, you're able to track it. A few of them have this requirement, in terms of halal certification if it comes to meat, or they want to ensure that the agricultural product which they consume is fairly safe. There's one such case which can help them. Next is the concept of drug traceability. Unfortunately, the world today, is including the poor economies or the third world countries, are actually facing a major issue in terms of tracking whether this drug is a real or fictitious. No doubt you have a barcode scanner which can track it, but the fact is, how reliable is that data? For this to work backwards, there is a need for people to understand what is this drug, how do I understand where it came from and the origin. And one other case of blockchain is perfectly this. And today, during the times of COVID-19, your PPE equipments, when they are tracked with the help of blockchain, you know where this came from and whether it's a fake or an original. One can always think that yes, I will fix a sticker, a hologram. Looking at the hologram, somebody will be able to identify, which is great. But going to the last mile, today, my dear friends, technology has become so robust that even holograms can be duplicated exactly the same way, and perhaps the origin or the sticker or the hologram which is from the original product may probably get a doubt whether I'm an original or I'm a duplicate. Another classical case, a medical transcription company and a health record or EHR, which is called as electronic health record keeping company. How in the United States of America were able to provide a simple solution where the company had all the information secured in a blockchain architecture, and whenever the patient went to a hospital, he used to give the permission for the doctor to view the health records, and the permission used to be taken back from the doctor the moment health records were viewed. And this is the power of technology. And the beauty is, all of them, what is recorded over there is safe and authenticated, and at the same time, it is ensuring that I'm able to handle this particular data for any person in the world at any given point in time. And this is my personal favorite. Microgrid in Brooklyn. It's a small place, probably somewhere in US, I'm not too sure. What this place has is, they said, we should be a role model for the entire world. And each of the house in this Brooklyn has a solar panel which says, we will produce the enough amount of solar energy by which the entire community can survive. And if there is excess, we'll of course give it to the government because it's going to be a huge saver. And this is how their houses in Brooklyn looks like. Solar panels everywhere. I'm not sure if you have read, a church somewhere near Vatican or somewhere on the Europe actually recently formed a solar panel based plus or a cross mark, and the energy from that is going to be self-sufficient for the church. Coming back to the context, you must be wondering what is so unique in this. See, when they brought in this system, they said we need to have people who are generating power. At the same time, people are going to consume power. For example, you had a party at home and you may have guests coming home, the power consumption is going to increase. But they said, can we do a method where the community is benefited, where the excess power produced by you, I can use it, or tomorrow, if I am producing excess power, you use it. We're talking about a system where producers become consumers, consumers become producers, a new terminology called prosumers. And that is what they wanted. But they did not want to sit and track all of this manually. They said, let's simply go digital. And you know what they did? They formed a micro grid of this particular Brooklyn. And they said energy companies, local residents, local business, all of these people can actually be benefited. They just did two simple things. Solar panel were connected with RFID and IoT sensors, which were actually tracking the consumption in terms of inward or outward. And that is the beauty of this system. And mind you, my dear friends, we are talking about prosumers who are actually getting alternate revenue thanks to this technology. Imagine a setup like this. If brought in for any sort of organization, association of persons, forget that. We're talking about fintech startups who are going to do micro lending, peer-to-peer lending. These are all cases where this technology is going to be used. This is a classical example. I just made a mention of micro lending. Automatic loans are possible, powered by smart contracts. And I told you smart contracts are those which can actually help you as an executable file, which can do various things on its own. So an agreement is written thanks to the digital signature technology. Signature is affixed. The moment this is done, automatically loan gets credited into your account. And a smart contract also ensures that the regular EMIs keeps on moving from your account without a single paper intervention. And this is possible today. Trust me, that is the future we're talking about. And this is my personal favorite. A scenario where news cannot be trusted, unfortunately, today. I'm not talking that the newsmakers or the people who are narrating are doing bad, but what comes on social media many a times is not verified. What if I said that every news which is to be come into place went through a verification channel, or rather a consensus in a blockchain word, if I have to use it. Consensus was given, only after which it was transmitted through any mode or any method, and he or she who wants to verify it can always go there and try to use that. That is the power which blockchain can bring in terms of media chain, in terms of decentralized registry, and in terms of tracking that the truth, but nothing but the truth, comes in. I'm sure you would have recollected in most of the movies that, you know, when people come on to that stage where the judge is examining somebody, somebody promises saying that I tell the truth, absolute truth, nothing but the truth. Trust me, blockchain is that such nature of truth. But what else can it solve? It can solve a whole lot of things. If you are trying to have a track of records, or if you're trying to have records, if you're trying to track something, if you're trying to verify something, or even aggregate something, name it any business, my dear friends, it will fall under this. All the e-commerce companies are aggregators. All of these companies are, you know, all these companies where we are talking about PPE, etc. They want to record where it came from or track where it came from. You know, we're talking about scorecards or point tables. You need to keep a record of it. And as an auditor or a security consultant, you want to verify. These are all things which it can solve. Let's look on the other side. What value do you want it to capture? It can capture information. It can capture attribution or responsibility. It can capture contracts. Very important, it can capture ownership, which means a right over an asset can be captured through blockchain. That is the beauty of it. You can access permission, or, you know, give the permission, deny the permission, and last but not the least, do not forget, it can also ensure transactions are taken care of. For whom? For people like you and I who are consumers, or maybe my organization, my employees. Forget that. I want to look in through my supply chain, suppliers, or even producers or makers to get an assurance. Creditors and investors, because I said today authentic companies or authentic fact-based financial statements, or for that matter, you know, the performance of the business is always a question. Government also wants to ensure that things are safe and they are able to track it, have a record, have a verify, and last but not the least, as citizens, we want to have a control over this. Well, if you thought that, can I bring my voting system on blockchain? Yes, there is definitely a possibility, but having said, it may probably take some time, but yes, this is basically what the future is. And why am I talking so much about these technologies? You must be thinking, oh, this is a brilliant technology, foolproof, nobody can make a mistake. My dear friend, you've gone wrong. A blockchain can also fail. Let me give you a couple of illustrations. Not everything is going to come on the blockchain. There is something going to be on the chain, off the chain. When things are off the chain, the challenge or the biggest question is, how do I synchronize the off-chain into on-chain? There are new intermediaries who are going to come into picture, and how do I know whether these new intermediaries are trustworthy? There is a need for audit. There is a need for security controls. Example number 2, if my smart contract has written wonderfully well, saying that yes, you have to pay 30 days from now to this vendor, and the contract is being put into the system, but the bank on the 30th day did not have money but still went and honored the payment, who has to bear that loss? In other words, I need to build in a whole lot of controls into this ecosystem, and not to forget the security aspects, as simple as how do I safeguard what is popularly discussed as the private keys and public keys. How do I keep a track of these keys? All of them, my dear friends, are questions which most of you should be having. And that's why we thought we'll come up with an exclusive session on enterprise blockchain. And please note, this is not on what blockchain or cryptocurrency, all those things are, those are totally different, because today we as professionals need to understand how blockchain can solve my problem. Remember, blockchain is a solution. Do you have the question? Happy to discuss questions. Over to you, Gaurav.